So today is day 2. Today is our second day of working on our prompt for a computer-based essay. And remember, because this is the first time we're doing this, I'm walking you through it step by step. I did collect your papers from yesterday, and I kind of looked them over to make sure, number one, that you wrote your thesis statement in a complete sentence that was properly punctuated. Remember, part of the essay process that you're writing, part of the assessment is to assess the standards for grammar, use, and conventions. So it's really important that you pay attention to those things. It will mark you down. Okay, about 20% of your score on your essay is for your grammar. So what they're looking for is that they are looking for patterns. They're looking for patterns where you might use lots of commas instead of periods, where you might forget to capitalize the beginning of a sentence, where you have problems with spelling. Maybe you haven't quite mastered taking the E off the end of a word when you add ing to it, or changing a Y to I. So what they're looking for, when they're looking for your grammar, use, and conventions, the standard that we have up here, okay, the one that we work on every single week with our paragraph editing and our skills block, when they're measuring those standards, they are looking for patterns. They're looking for careless mistakes that happen over and over again. So one of the things that is really important for you to do at all times is to reread your work and check it. So if you look at your sheet that you got back this morning, okay, you're going to see some corrections I made with a marker, possibly. Okay, some of you forgot to capitalize the first word in the sentence. Some of you still are not writing in complete sentences, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But I'm using part of what we've done when I've conferred with you about your writing and with what I saw on these sheets to kind of base our lesson. We're still working on the same standard. We're still working on our communication standard 1.4, which is about writing an informational piece of work. Obviously, there are lots of components to it. Okay, it's a very big standard which includes a lot of different things. So based on what you did for the work that you showed me, that I collected, your exit ticket if you want to call it that, I thought what I would do to start today's lesson is to talk to you about what is a complete sentence. All right, without any judgment or not or anything. Give me a thumbs up if one of the things you noticed on your checklist that you got back on your essay was run-on sentences or complete sentence. If you saw that, okay? More than half. No, I'm talking about your essay. The essay that I just gave you back this week, and I conferenced with you with your checklist. A lot of people, I want to say as many as 3/4 of the students in both classes are having issues with what is a sentence. So I found this video on YouTube that kind of gives you a really quick lesson on what a sentence is. I know I've talked about it, but I'm more of a visual person, and so just talking about it without showing it to you may not be enough for you to understand what a complete sentence is. All right, so let's go ahead and start with this.
With my shopping cart, and there's one word that comes to mind. When I'm standing here looking at the sun setting, this is complete. What else could you want? You're standing on a beach, don't make fun of the shopping cart. That might find something on the beach, okay? You don't bring a shopping cart to the beach. It's weird, okay? I've got a shopping cart, I feel complete. This is complete. This makes me feel happy. sentences can be like that too. You see, sentences like to be complete. They love to be complete. A sentence always has a subject and a verb. A sentence wants...
Whoops, sorry about that, didn't mean to do that. Okay, so sentences, you want your sentence to be complete. And it says that it always has a subject and a verb, okay? The subject is usually a noun, okay? The subject is usually someone or something, all right? And then we also have a verb. And the verb is usually an action, or it can be what they call being, meaning I am. Okay, I am tired. I am sick. I am energetic. Those are complete sentences. The subject is I am is the verb. And then you have your adverb, okay? So we want to look at complete sentences. Now, obviously, in order to understand that, you have to know what nouns are. You have to know what verbs are. And so, over the next couple of weeks, I will be assigning you some grammar lessons so that you can become more comfortable with identifying what is a noun, what is a verb, what is an adverb, what is an adjective. Okay, so that you can remind yourself. Those things actually, I believe, start to be introduced to you in the second grade. Okay? It doesn't necessarily get revisited in every single grade, but we may need to do that in order to fix this problem of complete
sentence anymore. In fact, it's something else. It's a sentence fragment. But let me not get too far ahead of myself. Always remember, a sentence has to have a subject and a verb. Kind of like every cool birthday party has to have a baby and Chomsky. I mean, baby. Chomsky, I haven't forgotten about the hat. Yet. So, you can come to my party, but it's still raw. It still hurts. Obviously, this is referring to a series. So a sentence always has a subject and a verb. That means a sentence is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. It needs to have both, otherwise it's not a sentence. A sentence is a group of words that has a subject and a verb. Like this, the dog plays catch. Does it have a subject and a verb? Yeah. The subject is the word dog. And the verb is which word? Which word is the verb?
Say it.
Yeah. Plays. This is a sentence. It has a subject and a verb, which means it's expressing a complete thought. This is complete. There's a subject, there's a verb. Okay, so I want to make sure you heard that. It expresses a complete thought. All right? Now, if you're a really good reader, you've been reading your 30 pages every night, you're reading on grade level, you actually almost kind of build up a sense of whether something is complete or not, okay? And so obviously that's something you want to work on. If that's a struggle for you, if that's a challenge for you, you want to make sure that you're reading lots of text that has complete sentences in it so you can kind of get that sense of being complete. We know what's going on, and there's no way this dog is catching this ball. Or maybe this dog will catch the ball. Who knows? Let us know in the comments which one you think will happen. Do you think he's going to catch it? Or do you think it's going to fall to the ground? Who knows? But this is a sentence. This is complete. It has a subject and a verb. It's a sentence. Or look at this one. The pig swims with a friend. The pig swims with a friend. Is there a subject and is there a verb as well? Okay, so I'm not going to wait for him to point it out. What is the subject? Pig. What is the verb?
Swim.
There you go. Yeah, the subject is pig, the pig. But is there a verb? Which word
stop it again because something I've noticed sometimes when we're doing our skills block is that some of you are tempted to put a comma after the swims because with a friend is a prepositional phrase. And a comma does not go there. Okay? With is a preposition. With a friend is a prepositional phrase that gives us more information about what's happening. Okay? So just be careful about that because I've noticed that that's kind of a misconception. A comma does not go there.
This is a sentence. I mean, it's got a subject, and it's got a verb, and it's expressing a complete thought. It's not missing anything. It's complete. It's got the subject, it's got the verb. It is a sentence. So, what happens if a group of words is missing a subject or a verb? Well, then it's kind of like me on the beach without my shopping cart. You know, it's missing something. A sentence fragment is a group of words that is missing a subject or a verb. That's what it's called, is a sentence fragment, when it's missing something. When it's just part of a sentence, it's missing something. It's not a complete sentence, it's a sentence fragment.
Okay. Whoops. I am going to go back to that part.
About sentence fragment. The beaches.
Okay, so one of the things I want to point out to you, one of the things I'm seeing a lot on your planning sheets, and then it bleeds into your essay, is that some of you are writing in sentence fragments. What you're writing resembles, let's just leave that pencil, that's 2 times it's fallen, let's just leave it there for now. Some of you are writing what seems to be a heading, and you're not picking up on it as a sentence fragment because it seems like it fits. This is going to be a heading. This body paragraph is going to be about this. But when you're writing an essay, you don't have headings. You have main idea sentences. Okay, that first sentence in your body paragraph is a main idea sentence. So we're going to go back over here and find our spot.
So you can see that they're incomplete. They're missing something. They're missing either a subject or a verb. All right, I'm ready to look at them. Sentence fragments are groups of words that are missing something. Like this, the book under the table. Well, the book under the table, where's the verb?
Okay, so the book is what? Subject. Under the table, who remembers what I just said? What is that called?
Prepositional phrase?
Prepositional phrase. Good job. All right, so is there a verb here?
No.
Is this a sentence?
No.
There's no verb. It has a subject, the book, but there's no verb. It doesn't tell us what's going on with the book. What about the book under the table? There's so many unanswered questions. This is not a complete thought. The book under the table is a sentence fragment. Or how about this one? Ran to school. Ran to school.
Okay, turn and talk to a neighbor. What is missing in this? What is missing?
Ran is a subject. You need a subject. Ran is a verb. Subject is either I or the people or
Okay, so Logan, what did you and Stella talk about? Shh. Thank you. What did you and Stella talk about?
Me and Stella were talking
Stella and
we're talking about how it's just a verb. It could be I ran to school, Elijah ran to school, he ran to school.
Right. We don't know, right? We don't know who ran to school. All right. So we're missing the subject. Now, I want to introduce another vocabulary word that you may see. And the word is called predicate. Predicate. Let me go ahead and write that on the board for you. Okay. We have to work on that chatter that's in the background, okay? All right, so a predicate is that group of words that starts with the verb and continues on. So this would be called a predicate. Still is a sentence fragment because all you have is a predicate. You need to have a subject and a predicate for it to be a sentence.
Or it doesn't have a subject. Who ran the school? We have so many questions about this. This is not a complete thought. It doesn't tell us who it's talking about. Every sentence has to have a subject and a verb. This has the verb ran, but it doesn't have a subject. Ran to school is not a complete sentence. It's a sentence fragment. Look at this one. The old car on the road. Wait.
Okay. This is going to be the last example that we're going to look at. It looks like he talks about many more. All right, so turn and talk with your same partner. What is missing from this?
The old car. I mean, there isn't a car.
Okay, let's bring it back. And a hush fell over the crowd. All right, so what is missing from this? What is missing, Jonah? The verb or the predicate, right? The old car on the road. Okay, so the old car on the road is a sentence. What is it? What do you call it? Fragment. A sentence fragment. Okay, so we really have to kind of increase our awareness of when we're writing in a fragment. All right. Tomorrow, I'm going to, either tomorrow or Friday, on the next lesson, we're going to talk about run-on sentences. But today, we're going to work on complete sentences. All right, so the next part of our chart, remember yesterday, we started at the top. We read the prompt. We determined what was being asked of us to do. And we wrote a temporary thesis. Because we're writing an informational expository essay, we only have one thesis. We write it down before we read because we don't want to get off task. We want to make sure we understand what they want us to do. After that, I taught you a strategy for using your planning sheet as a way for annotating. Remember something that we had done on paper before on the actual comprehension test that we now have to kind of figure out a way to do when we're taking a computer-based essay test. So I taught you a strategy for numbering your lines and for writing your 2 to 3 words, okay? And you might want to take a look at the sheet I gave back to you. For the most part, you all are very, very good at just writing 1 or 2 words, but every once in a while, a whole sentence crept in there, okay? So just try to keep it brief just because it eats up time. And the time factor, guys, when we're gonna quickly move to the point where I'm gonna put the time factor into this exercise of practice. And I will tell you, it is stressful. I'll be honest, it stresses people out. But we're gonna do it, get it started early so that we don't have any stress on that day. Okay, you can do this. I will tell you right now, you can do this. With the extra practice that we're going to do, you can do this. All right, so today, we're going to plan our essay. All right, so turn to the side of your paper where you already wrote your thesis statement. at this point in our learning process, everybody has the same thesis statement. Now, we've already noticed with our text, how is our text divided? Who remembers what we noticed about our sources? Nolan?
It's divided into groups that are involved in the American Civil War.
Right, it's divided into groups already for us. So a lot of the work, the thinking work, the synthesis work has already been done for us in the way that they have laid out the sources, okay? The thesis, remember, is that different groups were involved in the American Civil War. And we're not talking about the North and the South, okay? We're not talking about whether the French or the British became involved. What we're talking about the groups of people that were involved on both sides. We're talking about the three sources. So which was the first source about? What was the first source about, Victoria? Women. Okay, what was the second, Rin?
African Americans.
And the third one, Yami?
The children.
The children. So you already know from reading the text and annotating it that you're going to have main idea sentences that are going to deal with each of these groups. Okay? The decision you have to make today as you're doing your plan is what you're going to write in your boxes. Okay? And so I'm going to switch. I'm going to go ahead and get this off here and switch to my camera. And I'm going to move over here. And if you could go ahead and draw on your sheet your lines for your boxes. And if you remember, at the very beginning of the year, we saw those videos about sketchnoting as we were writing, and one of the things they talked about in there were containers. The shapes of the containers that you put your information in helps you to organize information. All right, so one of the things that we learned is that our thesis statement goes in a cloud at the top of our paper. And you've already done this yesterday. A few of you I may have had to correct because you didn't spell a word right or you didn't capitalize or punctuate. Remember, American Civil War is a proper noun. And then from the cloud, we want to put our boxes because in 3rd grade and 4th grade and 5th grade, we talk about boxes and bullets. What is contained in the boxes? Who can remember? What is contained in the boxes? Stella? The main idea. And then what is contained in the bullets? Dylan?
Like what you can conclude in that.
Okay, can you think about a word that's going to, what do you support your main idea with? Okay, information. Okay, Alex? Evidence, all of those work, but I was thinking of a different word. Details. I'm going to give you a success ticket. So we're talking about main ideas and details, and the reason why I wanted to push for that word is because that's the word in the standard. That's the word in the standard. The reading standard asks you to identify main idea and relevant details. Relevant meaning it goes with it. So as we're writing, we know that we're going to have to come up with a complete sentence. Right? Remember, that's why we did our little video. It needs to be a complete sentence on our planning sheet. If it's not a complete sentence on the planning sheet, It will not be a complete sentence in your essay. Just trust me on that. That's experience talking. That's what happens. You get stressed out, you copy, and it's not a complete sentence, okay? I would like for everybody to have those be easy, cheesy points. The points for grammar, okay? The points for grammar, use and conventions, punctuating titles. I want those to be easy, cheesy. Give me points because we've already practiced that and we're going to get it automatically. So today, you have to come up with 3 main ideas. Excuse me. Turn and talk and come up with a main idea for women.
Is that a good enough? Or that help? Serve is important. Like the whole body, the whole
Okay, let's bring it back. I pulled up our document. Okay, so let's just share some of the main idea sentences. Everybody hear me? I want a sentence that you have about the American women in the Civil War. Cheyenne? Okay. I think we need a little bit more because women are strong and caring all the time. Okay? But we want to make sure that we're talking about the American Civil War. All right, let's listen to some others. And even if I'm not calling on you, listen for somebody else's sentence because it might inspire you to improve or revise your own sentence, okay? Alex?
Women played an important role in the American Civil War.
Okay, that is a complete sentence. That is about women. And it also includes the American Civil War. Okay, Emily? Women were involved in the American Civil War. Complete sentence. We have a subject, and we have a verb, and it includes the information, the key words, right? Women, we know we're going to talk about women. American Civil War. Logan?
How women helped in the American Civil War.
Okay, this is a perfect example. How women helped in the American Civil War. That word how, at the beginning, cross it off. And then read me your sentence.
Women helped in the American Civil War.
Okay, that is a much. Can you see how that's a whole much so much better, right?
Yeah.
And all you did was take off that word how, and it's stronger and it's better. All right, really simple fix. So everybody, look down at what you wrote down. If you put the word how first, lop it off. Any others that we have that's a little bit different than what we've had? Alex?
Many different groups of women were involved in the American Civil War.
Okay, I'm not sure if that's confusing. So what groups would you write about in your main idea? Because really what you're writing about, right, is what they did.
Like how they were like spies, what they did at home.
Okay, so really what you're talking about are different settings, right? So could you write a main idea sentence that would refer to the settings in which they were at? For example, could you say that women were involved in the American Civil War in different settings, in different ways, in different places, in different roles. Okay? All of those things would work with a body paragraph, would work with this source. But I think when you say many groups of women or different groups of women, it starts to get a little bit murky. It starts to get a little bit confusing. All right, something different that we haven't talked about. Leo. Okay, women were very helpful during the American Civil War. Nolan? Okay, now, you just have to be careful because you're saying they had important jobs, okay? I'm wondering if the word responsibilities or tasks would work, because one of the things that they talk about are jobs. Don't they talk about the women, right here, taking on men's jobs, okay? That is going to pull you toward a detail. So what I would suggest is that you find a synonym or a different word that would refer to that, because what you're talking about is that women were involved in this during the American Civil War in many different ways, right? Probably more ways than any of the other groups, right? So you have many different ways. Okay, all right, so I think we're pretty good on what we should do for a main idea. All right, so let's go ahead. If you haven't already written, let me go back to my camera. If you haven't already written on your planning sheet your first main idea sentence, we can go ahead and do that. And you can put your version. And it's going to be in a box. Remember, referring back to those containers, we put our main ideas in boxes. We put our details in bullets underneath them. Now, your details are going to come from the annotations that you did on your planning sheet. So each paragraph you jotted things down. So you should have a little bit of an idea of where you would go to find that information. But also, if you noticed, each of these sources is divided with headings. It's divided into sections that have headings. Okay? So you'll be able to kind of group your details according to the headings. Now, I will tell you that you have many more headings than you need to have details. How many details should you have? How many bullets should you have under each main idea? Isla? 3. I don't think that's going to be a problem here, because you have way more than 3. You're either going to have to figure out a way to combine, or just choose the 3 that you feel are the most important. You do not have to include every piece of information that is in the source. Give me a thumbs up if you understand what I just said. All right? So you're going to be able to make some determinations as to what you think, number 1, are the most important. Number 2, what is going to keep your reader interested? I don't know about you, but I'm intrigued by this whole spies thing. Okay? So that may help you a little bit when you're trying to make a decision as to which things you want to talk about. Okay? And so what you would do during your planning time today, you would then go ahead and remember the shortcut I taught you. You're going to add your bullets. At least 3. And if you remember, I taught you the symbol for a paragraph. And going back to your annotations, you're going to be able to put the detail that you want. Which paragraph did that appear in? You don't have to go back to the text, although you can if you want to reread. All you need to do is to go back, is to write down the number. So say, for example, paragraph 4, you wanted to write about. Say, for example, you wanted to write about paragraph 7 and 8. That's all you need to do. You'll do more when you're actually writing the essay. All right? And if anybody has gone to the Florida State Assessment Portal, what you're going to notice and what we're going to simulate when we start writing is that you have your essay on one side of the screen, you have where you're typing your essay on the other side of the screen. So you'll be able to look at both what you're writing and the text set at the same time. But your detail, your bullets underneath your boxes, that is going to tell you where to go look. I tried to time the reading of the sources yesterday, and I will say that it took people anywhere between 30 and 45 minutes to read and annotate. That is a big chunk of time. And if you did a good job, then it was time very well spent. However, if the reason it took a long time is because you read very slowly or you're writing way too much annotation, then we need to kind of tighten it up. Okay, and we need to stay really focused as we're doing that. Okay, so I see your hand up, Nolan. What's your question?
What if we're combining 2 sentences together? Can you write both paragraphs next to the paragraph?
You're going to combine 2 sentences or 2 pieces of information? Okay, yes. So say that what you want to write is going to be in 4 and 5, then you could just put paragraph 4 and 5. All right? Question?
On your YouTube channel, do you have a video on how to space out paragraphs? How much to read a paragraph?
Well, I don't have it on the YouTube video unless you go to one specifically on your body paragraph, but your checklist has all that information. Okay, so if you look at your checklist, what Leo's asking has to do with how much should we put in our body paragraph, how many things should it be, how long should it be, okay? And if you look at your checklist, let me zoom in a little bit, the checklist actually tells you how many sentences each should be. Your introduction should be 6 to 7 sentences long. Each body paragraph should be 9 to 11 sentences long.
When you put this symbol, the paragraph symbol, I thought you meant that we're going to have paragraphs inside of the body.
No. And we'll talk about that when we get to writing body paragraphs. We'll talk about that. Because you'll include a piece of evidence, you'll cite it, where it came from, because remember they're looking for that. We'll talk about that on another day. And how much do we quote? So we want to make sure we want to keep the quotes brief, but we'll talk about that. That is a future lesson. Okay, so let's just talk about what we're going to do today so I can get you to start to work. Today, you're going to finish your plan. You're going to have 3 main idea sentences in boxes. And they are going to be complete sentences with a capital letter at the beginning, a subject and a verb, and ending with a period. And think about the things we talked about when we were brainstorming, the things you want to avoid. And underneath each of your main ideas, you have to have at least 3 bullets. When you finish, you're going to turn your planning sheet into the basket so that I can take a look at it. I will pass it back to you the next time we work on our essay so that you'll have it with you when we begin writing. Questions about what we're doing? We're not writing our hook today. I will tell you a tip. As you're reading and you're working, if something occurs to you, this would be a good hook. Put it someplace on your planning sheet. Okay? Sometimes, if you're really good and automatic with this, as you're reading your text set, something will jump out at you as an idea for a hook. You already know you have to write a hook. So if something jumps out at you before you're ready to write it, jot something down so you don't forget it. All right, any other questions about the work we're doing during independent time? Victoria?
What would be the ideal time to finish this whole essay?
Well, it really depends on how many days we can get to it. I'm trying to break it down into small, manageable pieces and walk you through the process rather than just throw it at you and say it's due tomorrow. Okay? So I can't really tell you. I think on the teams, I think I have a deadline for next Friday. Okay? But I want you to keep this in mind. Some of you get distracted at school, which I understand. There's a lot of people, and people are talk and whisper and move around. But we need to do this in school, okay, so that we can get our timing down. Any other questions? Noah? What? When do we have our snack? When we go to independent time, you can have your snack. Well, we're not there yet. Any other questions? Any other questions? I guess maybe that's what I should do. Always promise the snack once we get to independent time, and there won't be any questions. Okay. All right, so go ahead and get started with your work. Wait a minute. Once you turn your planning sheet in, hold on. Once you turn your planning sheet in and you're finished, your list of things to do when you're finished is on the board. So just start at the top and work your way in. All right, go ahead and get started. Okay, so your parents are going to hear how noisy you are. So I would suggest that you keep it down.